Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Katrina. If you're new here, thanks for joining. I have been trying to make this video for, well, how old are you? How old are you today? You're 7 weeks old today. 7 weeks. I had Miss Amelia 7 weeks ago. And it has been a struggle to get any videos done. But we're back at it. We're starting again. I have a couple coming up. And today's video, I wanted to talk about Amelia's birth. Oh, maybe we don't want to talk about our birth. Maybe we don't want to. Stay tuned. I'll be back. I'll jump right back on. It'll be 2 seconds for you, probably 3 hours in my world. All right, I'm back, as promised, with my little buddies. Surprisingly, that did not take 3 hours like I said it would. It took maybe 4 minutes. She just wanted to relax in her little rocker. I'll flip the camera so you can see her real quick. Big yawn. Someone was a little sleepy, so she needs to relax. Alright. That mom life happened. As soon as I flipped that camera around and I showed her yawning, the dogs went crazy instead. And then life happened. Wife stuff happened. I had to help Nick do something. And it was a Thursday evening, so I had my friend come over and just, life happens sometimes. So my 3-hour prediction was really wrong. It's been like 7 hours later. As you can see behind me, this is my window, very dark out there. I'm hoping that maybe this time I can actually talk to you guys. Amelia's asleep. Fingers crossed that stays. The dogs are just looking at me on the couch. Still in my living room, just in a different spot in the rocker. So, let's dive into this. This is my birth story. Obviously, I didn't do it in a hospital because I'm in my living room 7 weeks later. But I'll give you a story, a little rundown of what happened, and then I'll not post, but at the end, when I'm done yapping my trap, you guys can look at a whole bunch of cute baby pictures. So, yeah. So my birth story started with a normal checkup with my doctor. I went in at exactly 40 weeks. I don't know if you can hear that noise, but it's the monitor, because Amelia's bassinet rocks. So if you hear a weird, mechanical noise, that's what you're listening to. Anyway, so I had an OBGYN appointment for my 40 weeks with Amelia. I went in the week before my 39. I had said to the doctor that if I had not progressed towards labor, I wanted to discuss options to basically be induced. Not right at 40 weeks, that wasn't my plan, but I didn't want to be pregnant any longer. So I wanted to know what the options were and when they would be willing to induce me and how all that worked. Basically, I just wanted a lot of information about it. So I had said that at the 39 and that I wanted to talk about it at my 40 weeks just so I could get a lot of information and kind of make a plan. So I go into my 40-week appointment expecting just to talk about being induced because I didn't really feel any signs of going into labor. I know there's no actual signs, but I didn't really feel any different. Everything that I was feeling, I think, was more in my head because I just really didn't want to be pregnant anymore. I really just wanted to meet Amelia. I wanted her here. So I go into the appointment and I talk to the doctor about being induced and everything. And because we were talking about it, she had asked me if I wanted to go next door. Next door meaning the hospital, because my doctor is right across from the hospital. And see if they can do it today. Or if we can make an appointment to get induced relatively soon. Because my blood pressure wasn't so high that it was dangerous, but they were going to have me come back before 41 weeks. So, like, in like 3 or 4 days to get it checked again to make sure that I wasn't getting dangerous, because we were very close to that point. So I was like, oh, I can go next door, we can make a plan and like get it all rocking and rolling. So that was my plan. So I went across the street to the hospital. They called over for me so that they knew that I was coming. And I went in, I got my blood pressure taken, and we had just talked about some more options. And basically everyone agreed that it was time for Amelia to come. So we started Pitocin, I think is what it's called. I could be so wrong. So if you're like a nurse or a doctor and I'm saying wrong medical terms, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I am not a doctor, and no one should be taking medical advice from me because I don't remember what it was called. But basically, the medication that gets you dilated was what they did first. To start my dilating. So to start me dilating. They did that for a while. I went in at like 10. I think we started at 11 with that. And that was like every 4 hours, I think. Yeah, every 4 hours. And then I was there overnight. Again, every 4 hours. And they gave me a balloon catheter, which, if you've never had that or don't even know what I'm talking about, if you're planning on ever being induced and they ask you if you want one of those, I don't recommend it. I thought that was agony. Like, that was very, very, very painful for me. The doctor said most women don't think it's painful, so maybe it's just the way I'm designed, but it's exactly what it sounds. It's like a balloon that helps you dilate, so it was not fun. I thought it was painful, not pressure, painful, like very painful. I was only able to handle it for like 2 hours, and they wanted me to have it for 12 overnight. There was no way I was going to be able to sleep with that. So I ended up taking that out, and they gave me another medication to get me going into labor when like I was dilated enough. I was at like 5 centimeters at this point, and so the other medication also helps you dilate, but you needed to be more dilated before you went into that. And so at this point, I'm in labor for like a long time, like close to 20 hours, maybe even a full day, but right around 20 hours, 24 hours. Doing painful things like balloon catheters and just walking around and really trying to get everything going. And around probably noon on the Friday that she was born, everything started to hurt. Like, it was really bad. Contractions are no joke, and any mama out there that has done that without drugs is literally superwoman. I have no idea how you did that. There's no way I could have. Like, nope, 0%. So around noon, I got laughing gas to help with it, and at that point, my contractions were really picking up. Really picking up, and Amelia's heart rate was dropping. Because every time that she tried getting lower in the birth canal, her heart rate would drop. And they weren't sure at this point if it was like faulty monitoring, because I was not just in bed. So I was able to walk around, so I was just wearing like the monitors that they strap to the outside of your belly. And so they put a monitor inside me on her to track her heart, and it was still like dropping. So it was accurate at this point, because at this point I wasn't allowed to get out of bed because I had an epidural put in. So then I was obviously not allowed to like stand up because I couldn't even move my feet. And so we're still progressing. They're monitoring it closely. Basically, there's a nurse standing next to me for the next 8 hours straight. Someone was literally right next to me the entire time because they weren't really sure why at this point. her heart rate was dropping. Her heart rate was dropping because her umbilical cord was too short. And so every time she would drop farther into the birth canal, the cord would get pulled. And so her heart rate would drop. So they basically stopped all medication except for like pain medication for me to kind of pump the brakes on labor to see if anything they did, different position, would help, because again, at this point, nobody knew why her heart rate was dropping. And so we do a few hours longer of trying to figure it out, doing different positions, and her heart rate keeps going back up. So like it's not staying too low. So it just keeps dipping and dipping and dipping. But it keeps going back up to like a healthy range. And around 7 o'clock or so, they said you might need to start thinking about having a C-section. So this is 7 o'clock at night. Okay. So 7 o'clock-ish, maybe closer to 7:30. Definitely closer to 7:30. They said that I was probably going to need to have a C-section and that they were going to monitor me for about another half an hour and go from there and make a decision. Half an hour goes by after I make a phone call to my mom and my dad and I let them know what's going on because COVID, no one was allowed in there, and that is kind of a blessing. Love my parents, but that's something that you kind of need to do by yourself or in with your significant other, just to kind of keep them posted on what's going on. And by the time I make 2 phone calls and I send my best friend a text message, they come back in and they're like, we need to do a C-section kind of like right now because her heart rate keeps dropping and we're not sure why. And it's getting to the point where it's kind of scary. So it wasn't emergent, but they didn't want it to become emergent. So they get an OR ready and we go in. They set me all up. I'm on an epidural, so they have to like just really pump me full of the epidural medicine, which I didn't react well to that much. And I got really sick during the C-section, so that was fun. I was cut open having a surgery while awake after 33 hours of laboring with her, throwing up, actively throwing up while having a surgery done. I would do it again in a heartbeat for her. It was not fun. Anyone that's like being pregnant is great and labor is not horrible. I don't know where they get their strength from because I did not like being pregnant at all. I hated every second of it. Would I do it again for Amelia? In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, because I love this kid so much it hurts my belly to think about sometimes. But we go in, we have the C-section. I'm literally throwing up and shaking the entire time. She comes out totally healthy, totally perfect, nothing but a perfect baby, and a tiny, 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 tiny hernia in her because of her umbilical cord being pulled so much. So she kind of has like a tiny little bit of an outie right now. Tiny bit. It'll work its way back in. They said by a year it'll be totally healed and back in, and I definitely think by like tops of 6 months it'll be all the way in because it's barely an outie. Like if you didn't know she had a hernia, you wouldn't even have looked at the belly button long enough to realize that it wasn't an in. So yeah, that all happened. We're in, the baby comes over, they push her next to my face. We find out how much she weighs and how tall she is. So she was 7 pounds, 12 ounces, 20.25 inches long, born at 8/14 on Friday. Just the cutest little bean ever. So thanks for basically letting me just ramble, because I know this was not a traditional birth story like when you look them up online. It was just me telling you what happened, but 33 hours of labor, being induced, ending with a C-section. but ending with the most beautiful baby in the world. So it was totally worth every second of it. But yeah, thanks for letting me ramble. I am super, super tired at this point. So hopefully this makes enough sense where you followed everything. And yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep before my baby wakes up and needs more mom time. All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a great night.